Good morning to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video blog for Monday, the 18th of May, 2015. The hurricane season in the East Pacific has officially begun. So let's take a look at a little bit of climatology here, what we would expect to see in that region for this time frame during May, nearing the end of this 10-day time period. So next week we will take a look at the last 10 days of the month, the last third. Right now we have only a few development areas over the last 100+ years or so. This part of the hurricane season in the Eastern Pacific not usually very busy, and what we do have develop usually is short-lived, fairly weak, and usually moves west like this. Once in a while, if you dig a trough in the west to erode that ridge, they can get pulled north, but that's pretty rare this time of year. It usually doesn't start happening until later in the Eastern Pacific hurricane season. And then you notice in the Atlantic Basin, which that hurricane season officially begins on June 1st, even though we just had Tropical Storm Ana. Sometimes nature doesn't follow calendars, right? Not man-made anyway. Nevertheless, this 10-day time frame does feature a few development areas over the course of the last several decades. But again, it's rare, few and far between. This year, though, was an exception. We did have Ana, and that developed here to the north of the Bahamas off the Carolina coast, moved inland, and then went on out to sea, bringing several inches of rain to parts of the Carolina coastline. Nothing to worry about right now, though, that's for sure. So let's take a look at a couple of things that I like to peruse on these weekly discussions. First of all, the sea surface temperature anomalies, simply put, the departures from average or normal. You notice here this large area of red in the equatorial region of the tropical Pacific. That is the growing El Nino that is in place right along the water right along this line, warmer than it should be. Why? Well, because, several factors, but mainly because the trade winds out here, which normally blow from east to west in a fairly brisk fashion, have slowed down or even reversed. And so that allows this water to warm abnormally so. And you actually have subsurface water that gets pushed from the west to the east, and then it kind of runs into the continent of South America here, rises to the surface, and then gets pushed westward by what little trade winds there still may be. And it's a process, it's a feedback mechanism where the atmosphere and the ocean basically work together to create this huge area of warmer than normal water temperatures in the Pacific. Now, normally, that would mean generally unfavorable conditions for the deep tropics right through here. And you can see that this blue in that area indicating below normal sea surface temperatures. So everything on the right-hand side of the scale is above normal, and of course on the left-hand side below normal. So right through the heart of the Hurricane Alley area, what we call the main development region, water temperatures running considerably less than we would normally see, but in the western Atlantic and in the Gulf of Mexico near Florida, the Bahamas and off the Carolinas, sea surface temperatures running quite a bit above the long-term average. So the only area that we're probably going to see much in the way of favorable conditions this year, probably something like this. This area, not so much. And then, of course, the Eastern Pacific with all this warm water could be very busy as well. So those are the departures from normal. What are the actual sea surface temperatures like? Well, we're looking for 26 degrees Celsius, which is around 79.5 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's this line right here. So everything south of this line is pretty much ready for hurricane season. So most of the Gulf of Mexico, we'll call it 99%, and of course the Caribbean, very warm, 80 degrees, 79.5, 80 degrees, and higher. And that actually, if you look off the east coast, there are some 26 Celsius isotherms, which is a line of equal temperature, up here, not too far off the coast of New Jersey and Delaware. So the Gulf Stream really does an interesting thing here. You have these loops and these eddies as it goes across, and then not too far away, water temperatures just slightly above freezing. Isn't that amazing? No wonder we have such interesting weather in the Western Hemisphere. All right, so what does it look like, and who is the official source here? Well, of course, the National Hurricane Center gives us these outlooks and they are the official government source for hurricane information in the central, eastern, and the Atlantic Basin, the Central Pacific, Eastern Pacific, and the Atlantic Basin. And they issue this tropical weather outlook, and since the East Pacific hurricane season has begun, they have already issued one. Let's see, yeah, right here. Tropical weather outlook, right there on the National Hurricane Center's homepage. And of course, nothing going on right now, so nothing expected during the next 5 days. They also have a very nice graphical version of this, so you can go and look at the 2-day tropical weather outlook and see if we can get this to open up as an image. Zoom in on it for you. And again, they outline nothing expected in the next 48 hours, and then their text product indicating nothing over the next 5 days. Now, if we had something trying to develop, it would be outlined in this yellow or the orange for medium potential and the red for high potential of development, and then some kind of a cone indicating which way it's expected to go. So you'd have like an X here, and then this hatch mark. Well, you'll see soon enough, and you're probably familiar with it. But nothing to worry about right now. In fact, if we look at a satellite picture just in and of itself, you can see limited areas of convection out here, showers and thunderstorms. And you can also tell just by looking at these high-level clouds right here that there's probably some pretty high-level winds streaking out of the south and west across this region. And I'm going to give you a little tip. Hurricanes and typhoons don't like wind blowing across them. They have to have an area of very light wind aloft so that the thunderstorms that develop can go up and then spread out on their own in the atmosphere inside of that high pressure bubble. It's no good if the wind is blowing across a system like this. It just rips the tops off of these thunderstorms, which you can see a little bit of that here, and it's not very favorable for development. Now, that's part of the reason why this time of the hurricane season we typically don't see much activity out here, because it takes a few weeks longer on into June really to set the stage for more prolific development in this area. And you know, it'll happen soon enough, and you'll see on those satellite pictures down the road what a favorable upper level environment should look like. Nothing of the sort right now. So that's it for this Monday. Thanks for tuning in. I am Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com. That's my website. I'll be producing these video discussions for Hurricane Pro in HD once a week, and then if something gets going, either in the East Pacific or the Atlantic Basin, especially if it's a threat to land with an impact, of either storm surge, wind, rain, or straight line winds and tornadoes, that kind of thing, then we'll have a more frequent discussion, maybe every day. So stay tuned to that. But for now, it'll be once a week, every Monday, and you can check that out right in the app. Very good information. Hopefully you can make use of it. Again, I'm Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com for Hurricane Pro in HD. Have a good rest of your week ahead, and I'll talk to you next Monday.